And now that we have the recording in progress, we got the chat going, got the slide up. Welcome officially to charting the course for chapter leaders and learning in 2026. We are, as I mentioned, we're going to take a look at some habits to keep your board moving forward, as well as how can we create a really good learning experience amongst all of the team. I am here, Peggy Hoffman, as your facilitator. And my goal is not to be the person who pretends to have all the information, but rather to be the one who asks the questions so we can get all of the wisdom that is in each one of you to come forward. I want to start with a question, which is, and it's going to be a poll. We're going to put it up there. I want to know how your chapter is feeling about 2026. Let me pull that poll up for us. So my question to you, and I've given you 4 options, and feel free to add details in chat, but are you fired and ready? Are you cautiously optimistic? Are you overwhelmed but hanging in there? Or you just need flat out a reboot to make it all work? Maybe there's a little overlap, to pick the one that is just feels a little more right at this particular moment. And as I said, fill it in chat too as well. And I love this, that it just goes to show the flexibility of NIGP leaders, when a favorite color can be orange or green depending on the mood. I love that. All right, keep coming on in here. Excited and energetic. I love that. We have a new president with new ideas. Is that not great? That's always fun and exciting. Excellent. So it should be a great year. All right. I've got just about everybody in here. So let's go ahead and end the poll. If you didn't get a chance to put in your answer, just go ahead and use the chat to fill it all in. Entire new board here, so a full reboot. So I'd say fired up and ready. I hope that's what that means, Stephanie. All right, let me show you that a good percentage of you are cautiously optimistic. That is great. We've got quite a few that are fired up and ready. And if you need a reboot, you're in the right place. Excellent. So I'm asking that question because a large part of what we're talking about today is, how do we kick off? How do we create the best possible opportunity for us as volunteers and for the members that we are working with, and for the prospects who maybe have been yet to be convinced that we really do have them in mind. Let's start our conversation today with talking about 3 habits that can help your board moving forward, keep your board moving forward. And I say keep your board moving forward because so many of you have momentum that you're building on from 2025, right? And so our goal is to take that momentum and just give it a little extra nudge. And there are really 3 habits that that we've been able to identify based on input from you all, as well as chapter leaders from across the actually around the globe at this point, and many different associations.
Yeah.
We've been able to be involved in chapter leader training in very distant places this year, from the United States to Canada, even out to Lisbon. And I'm seeing the same 3 habits in high performing groups. The first one is all about strong meetings. So let me ask you a question about your meetings. Would you say your biggest board meeting challenge is low engagement around the table? Maybe they don't even show up. Meetings that run too long, so people get tired. You feel that the discussion kind of loses steam. No clear outcomes, or agendas that are not followed, or maybe they're followed, but they're not shared in advance. So it's the agenda issue, right? Why are all, that's a great question, Valerie. I guess I wrote them that way because I was looking at the challenge. But if you've got if none of them fit, put them in there. So if none of them apply, go ahead. Is there a challenge that maybe we haven't identified here that you would say? So go ahead, Gary, Rick, Michelle, Coral One. Go ahead, put in chat if you have any challenges. And I guess to the question of why do we put in the negative, let's give you an option to be to the positive. What are the opportunities? Where are the areas that you would like to improve? So go with either way. And maybe if you feel like your meetings are long, you click that one, but you're clicking it from the standpoint of saying we want to figure out how to get the meetings not too long. Yeah, Sarah. So you're just figuring out your groove. I get that. Some of you are returning, and maybe you can take a look at last year and look at the new year. Yes, Barbara, thank you. I'm going to give you a high five for that because it is true that it's easier sometimes for us to copy and paste. Great. All of the above. I think that's might be a little true for many of us. All right, let me go ahead and end the poll and show the results. Not surprising, we see that one of the biggest struggles, one of the biggest areas for opportunity is that getting people appropriately engaged in the work of the board and these meetings. It's very difficult to do that. It is, we do hear from leaders, and we had a recent survey where we had chapter leaders from 20 different organizations talk to us. And one of the things they said was our meetings, they just don't seem to be productive. They run long, or we don't have outcomes, or we have an issue with the right agenda. That's where those other three came from. So it's not uncommon for you to be facing one or more of these. So the question is, what's the habit that gets you around that? Well, when we take a look at what creates a really strong board under this particular habit, we find that you are working within three areas of your board meetings. What do I mean by that? The prior, right? What happens before the meeting? What happens during the meeting? And the third one is what happens immediately after. Oftentimes, when we think of a meeting, we think of, okay, here's the agenda, get it out, get everybody on the call, walk through the agenda, we're done. At some point, the secretary will get the minutes out. But highly effective boards are using their meetings a little bit differently. Prior to the meeting, they're getting out their agenda at least 3 to 5 days ahead. Some organizations find that 7 days ahead is really valuable. On that agenda, they are giving homework assignments, preparation assignments. So, for example, if you're using a consent agenda, that consent agenda items are already there so that they can take a look at that and they can assume, excuse me, they can let you know if there's any questions. Otherwise, you know that the consent agenda will run as it is. They will also, on their agendas, they will have different people leading different agenda items, but they're telling those people ahead of time. So they're helping people come and ready and excited to have good conversation. During, they're sticking to the priorities. What does that mean? In a very tangible sense, it means that you do not have the same agenda meeting after meeting because you're going to put the priority items, whatever is first and foremost in your mind. Do not go with an agenda where you get rid of all the small stuff so that you can leave the big thing to the end. No, you got to go with what's really important. And each agenda item and each discussion starts with where do we have to get to in this particular discussion. It's not kind of an open-ended and then someone finally says, like the chair, finally says, oh, do we have a motion? No, no, no. At the beginning, you say, are we going to need a motion? And what would the motion have to approach? Now let's have a discussion and see where we can get to it. So the during is how are you keeping the most important things that can create the excitement and the energy. Then what happens afterwards? Highly effective boards are within minutes of that meeting sending a quick thank you email that says, or this could be, by the way, in your text chat, if that's what you use, but a quick recap that says, thank you for attending the meeting. It was great for us to have this discussion on membership and on that February event. And you will get next steps within the next 24 hours. And then right after that, now you send, here are the 5 things or the 2 things or the 1 thing that everybody agreed to do. What this little formula does, which means that meeting starts at least the week before the meeting and ends 24 hours to 48 hours after the meeting, is it's saying, how do we create conversation and discussion and energy, right? So, yes, Barbara, create the action items from the board meeting and send it to the meeting as completed. Exactly. Absolutely. Oh, I love this. Build a hot topic section and key task schedule for the year. Yes. So, my point being here is that you got to get a lot of energy and a lot of items, a lot of stuff done. So, keep it very intentional. Make sure you're not just using the hour or the 2 hours you have, but you're thinking about this event in terms of that week and couple of days. That's habit number one, strong meetings. Highly effective boards have meetings that actually create results. Secondly, is communications. Let me ask this question in chat. Tell me, as a board, and if you're a brand new board and it's hard for you to answer the question, then answer it from a, this is what we plan to do. How often will your board have communications? Are you anticipating that the board will be talking, and I don't mean in a board meeting, I mean communications, weekly, monthly, less? How often will your board be communicating? And then, if you can, follow that up with how do you think that communication is going to be handled? Twice a month, monthly, weekly, monthly, daily, teams. Ah, love it. Someone's going to be using teams, I assume. Ad hoc, teams, daily, weekly. Lots of good stuff. Yes, Sarah, that's a great way of dealing with it. We have a target, knowing that we're going to do more if we need it. All right. Keep them coming. So two things that came out of our research on what level of regular communications between these meetings works. Interestingly enough, the one of the most successful tips that come out of this is a weekly pulse. This is not a big long email, right? This is a short email or a group chat that puts just the things that have to be top of mind, top of mind. It could be our progress on X. It could be coming up. It could be yay for this win, right? So it's not lengthy, but a weekly pulse. And what a weekly pulse does, it's kind of like what we might use in many organizations, where we have that 5 or 10 minute standing meeting, or we tend to all get together on a Monday morning or a Friday afternoon. We all have that kind of, some of us, different kind of flow, but there's a flow in the office. What's creating that little bit of energy so that you're right here and you're able to keep a conversation. You stay present to your board members and your board members stay present to each other. The second element that really comes out of our research is that we're doing frequent check-ins, no surprises. So as a chair, and I learned this actually from one of you, brought this up last year at the Academy, talking about the fact that you reach out and I don't wish I could remember who it was. I don't remember if Jennifer can, because it was in one of our group discussions. The president said that they reach out to each board member at least once a month, not all together, but like their education person or their this person. They'll just do a quick check-in so that they're never caught off guard by a board member who hasn't been able to do anything because they're not feeling well or something changed at the office. They lost a staff member and now they're doing double work. You're checking in, so there's no really, I would say, surprises. Now, communication occurs regularly. I love that. What I'm going to encourage you all, though, is boards, and this is one of the highly effective board indicators, is you sometimes, if we don't schedule it, we feel like we're communicating. We feel like there's a frequency and a power to it because it's based on what we need. But many times we have to be able to we have to be able to say, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put this on the schedule so that I can actually see what my communications were. And then I can use the board evaluation and the board assessment opportunities to figure out if I have the right communications. In other words, if you do this with a sense of this is working, you can't go back and evaluate it. If you do it with with an intentionality, you can go back and you can verify whether or not it was supportive or not. I'm suggesting, based on the research, the weekly pulse, but you might find that a bi-weekly pulse is fine. But until you actually commit to it, you can't assess it in a way that allows you to make that shift. So just a food for thought there in terms of what the research is telling us. The third habit is having a plan and a calendar. What I'm talking about is one source of truth. So a shared document, it's a shared calendar or a shared task tracker that everybody can link to and have access. I'm not talking about a document which you produce and then send out to people because they could be
Yes.
updating it or you could update it. You could update it and that update would, it's not going to be reflected for everybody else. So having that one shared calendar, that one source of truth would be very, very supportive for our boards. Now, let me ask this question. I bet some of you are already doing this. What, if any, shared task tracker or calendar do you use? And I mean religiously, consistently. Do you use Google Drive? Do you use Trello? Do you use a Teams? I mean, what are you guys using? Share what you're using so that people can have an opportunity to sort of ask you questions about it and find that source, one source of truth that's going to work for their chapter. So Asana, always great. It's a for those of you who don't know, it's a really got lots of functionality. Sometimes it can be overwhelming, but if your members are using that in their job, that would be great. Um, Google Drive, still experimenting. Stephanie, Google Drive is a good piece to use. You can put that shared calendar in an X in a smart sheet. You'd be able to have documents right up there. It would be great. Teams. Oh, so Stacy's based on who sets the meeting. And that, I mean, that's going to be the way it is for some folks. If you can get consistency year in and year out on the same thing, and if you could have a Teams channel where you can save things, that would be really, really fabulous. And if you don't all have access to Teams or Google, you might be sharing a document that's say up on Doodle or on Dropbox, excuse me, or taking a look at a number of those things, which can come much easier. Now, if you are a NIGB website hosting via Club Express, you do have the ability to have some shared documents there. So that certainly is an option for you as well. How would you handle over-aggressive board members? Say you assign a non-urgent task, but you don't complete the task within the same day. They go and they do it. Okay. Um, so that's a great question, Sarah. I love Stephanie's ask for a deadline and commit to checking in when you are done. I'm going to highlight her part where she says and convene when you are done. So what you might say to board members is in this case. So Sarah's going to handle this. Sarah will check in with you on give a date and make it very clear that it's you have until that date to do anything and no one else is going to do it. So in other words, rather than just saying you're going to do it, set the date when everybody should have that opportunity to quote unquote review. Okay. Hey folks, jump in if you've got recommendations for Sarah. But the other thing I really think is that when you see someone who is uh, jumps on like that, the chair needs to take that person aside very gently and say, "Oh, I saw that you jumped in. I knew though that Stephanie was working on that. Listen, can you? We're really trying to drive some more engagement with our board members. Can you hold off next time?" And that's how he would do it. Can you just hold off next time? So you're not reprimanding them as much as you're saying, for the good of the group, for our ability to be able to have connections and collections and still give everybody a chance of job, would you hold off? So I think sometimes that's what we have to do is we just have to help people understand what we would like to see them do as opposed to either just hoping they don't do it again or reprimanding them for it. Good. Rosetta saying Club Express, excellent. Good idea, Melissa. So you're using it in both the iteration and then you share it. Oh, I love that. Yes, of course, Rosetta. Absolutely. Mentoring is so, so important. Oh, Melissa, thank you for mentioning that. So if it is an issue, you could try the nonprofit Google Workspace. Um, it can be tricky. I understand this, but even a personal Google account, which I have a Google Drive, I don't pay for it at all. I can share a document with you and we can all edit it. We can have opportunities. I can put editing on it. So even if you don't have, say, a big Google Drive, but you could at least have your spreadsheet, which is your calendar and your task calendar available for everybody and share it, it would work really well. So see if you can work with that. Why am I saying this? You guys are really busy in the day, right? And you're busy in the evening. And you are people that raise their hands to be chapter volunteers for NIGP are people that are already overcommitted in a really wonderful and delicious way, right? This shared calendar makes it easy for us after we've said yes to stay engaged. And as if you are president or one of the officers, you helping your new members that are involved in the board and the governance not only say yes, but show up. It's a large part of that is creating the ease. And whether or not it's a simple spreadsheet, something that they can check off. If you just send them something and they can't check it off, it's not the same interactive tool. It doesn't create the same sort of a shared commitment. So give it a work and see if you can. Crystal, thank you for highlighting that. And you know what's interesting, folks? Any of you that are Club Express folks and are coming to the in-person portion of Academy, there is a workshop on that first day, on the day before it all gets started. And we will have access to people to be able to help you with Club Express. So if this looks to you like, oh, what is this? Don't worry. In 2 weeks, we'll be able to answer some questions for you. So let me stop right there because the reality is that I'm sharing these habits because this is what research tells us are the common elements of highly effective boards. Highly effective boards are boards that are consistently meeting their goals. Their organizations are thriving by the metrics of membership, retention, event attendance, engagement by their members, and the fact that they have sufficient funds and resources to get the job done, right? So these are habits that you see in boards that are highly effective. Hopefully, there's one in here that you could work on in the next couple of months. You don't have to do everything. You just have to do a couple of those particular things. Jenny, I see you raised your hand. You have a quick question?
Yeah, quick question on the shared calendar. I could see shared task tracker, but how is everybody else doing a shared calendar? Are we talking about for deadlines or like everybody's to coordinate schedules for recurring meetings? I just want to understand why we would want a shared calendar. That seems,
Okay, I see. So let me suggest to you that when I say shared calendar here, I am talking about the working calendar for the board. I'm not talking about your if you use Outlook like I do. I'm not talking about us all having access to each other's Outlook calendar. So thank you for asking that clarifying question. I am talking about the calendar of the board. So I would see this as the way I've done it in the past is it is a spreadsheet, which I usually find is more useful for this. And I might have in the first workbook would be all of our key dates. So everybody has that in front of them. And if there's modifications, there's an addition to put notes. And next to those key dates, I would have a notes column that says, this is completed, this is done, da da da. And then a sheet which says this is what our tasks are and who's been assigned the tasks and where we are. And so it's a shared calendar in the sense that our board meetings are already listed there. Our one of the things that we do with a group that I'm working with, we have all of the meeting dates across one of our sheets. and you go down there and you explain, are you going to be able to be at this meeting? And if not, why? And so we've got that kind of a running list. We've got several tabs on our spreadsheet. And it's up there so I can go in, like let's just say we're having a meeting next Thursday. I can go in and say, "Yep, I'm going to be there," or "No, X came up," right? This is also the place where when we have in our meetings, we have a monthly meeting, we have a spot every meeting. We have a spot for a discussion question. People will go in there and they'll sign up to be the person who has got a question, and they will open that agenda item. And so that's where you sign up and say, well, I have a question and I'd like to do this on this particular meeting. So that's really what I'm talking about. So thanks for asking the question. I hope that helps. Give me a thumbs up if it does.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Yeah. Um, so I love that there's some questions about Club Express. Keep letting those come through as we continue to talk. Oh, Nicole, you are great. All right. Let me keep going because we're going to run out of time and I know you guys have other things to do. The second part of this is the Smart Start, which is my way of saying this is about orientation and onboarding. And I have a quick poll for you all to kind of weigh in on this for this. We have done, oh, there we go. We have done a number of really cool, I'm going to relaunch this poll. Here we go. We've done a couple of previous programs on board orientation and boot camps. So you can go back and you can see all of those. But which onboarding piece do you think needs the biggest upgrade for 2026? How you're addressing and helping people see clear roles and responsibilities, how you're helping people with the mechanical parts of it, right? Tools, access, logins, culture, norms, and expectations. Or maybe there's this sense of mentorship and buddy system. Someone said earlier, oh, you don't forget to have a great buddy system, which is really priceless, I think. Um, keep coming. Let's see, you guys are jumping in. Now there may be something, I mean, I've sort of made these big blocks of stuff. If you're not sure if something is included in one of them, or if you have something that looks like it's different, go ahead and put that in chat and we'll kind of make some connections for you. Melissa, thanks for that hint on going through TechSoup. That's great. Man, you folks, this is so great. The way that you all are jumping in and helping each other. And Melissa, it sounds like you guys have done a number of things that are really cool. I'm assuming that people can reach out to you and and have some questions. Yes, Era, I understand. Board members sometimes get started on these things and don't stay with them. That's where your culture, norms, and expectations comes in, creating at the beginning a shared understanding of how we're going to operate and getting people to sign on the bottom line. I'm not talking about your code. I'm not code of ethics. I'm not talking about your code of conduct. I'm not talking about your signing off on I understand my jobs. I'm talking about an actual community agreement and everybody signing on it. And one of the things is we're going to use the shared calendar. We are not going to send it out separately. It's that kind of a nurturing the culture that's going to make a difference. It makes the job easier for you as a president, also, by the way. All right. Let me end the poll and share the results here. So I love it. Clear roles and responsibilities, tools, access, style, the tech part of it, culture, norms, and expectations, mentorship, and buddy system. Okay, so I love seeing this because we are going to talk about some of these things in person at the at Chapter Academy, and we can also build webinars around each of these elements too. The clear roles and responsibilities, if you go into the chapter resource area, you will see the boot camp concept that was done in the one in the one webinar that we did, and you'll have the opportunity to take a look at that and see some really good ideas on that. So I'm going to go ahead and point you to those particular directions. But it is because these four things oftentimes are the areas where boards struggle. That's the reason why we're recommending that you take one of your early meetings this year, make this an entire board on the journey together. Do not make this for new board members. Make this for everybody so we're all on the same page. Start with getting group clarity on duties, commitments, and expectations. This is really where you say, by the way, it's pretty clear. I want to make sure you know we have a chair, we have a treasurer, we have a secretary, we have a this. Just say it out loud, right? And go ahead and help people understand how the roles fit together. At this meeting, cultivate a shared vision. Like, where do we want to go this year? I'm not talking about a shared vision necessarily for your whole chapter. Let's get ourselves on the same page for the next 6 months, right? At that point, commit to your values. Those are the things we just talked about. The values are the things like we're all going to log in and use this shared calendar. We're all going to agree to a process of consent agendas. We're all going to agree on a decision-making process that includes majority rule. Any of these things, these are our values. We all agree that we're all going to come prepared, and we will all equally participate. Once you go through all of these things, now the board has the ability to understand how they're going to relate to each other. I love this, Sandra. If you can do this in a 2-day plan, that is excellent. I love that. I think just having at least one board meeting where you have, this is what you're talking about. How are we going to work together? How are we going to show up for each other? Right? We actually have, and I'm going to ask Jennifer to throw that back in chat. We have an agenda for this kind of a meeting, a template that you can just, if you haven't already done this, take this agenda and go ahead and use it, right? Um, we'll send this afterwards, but we also have a Google Doc that you can download right now if you'd like. Any questions about this particular concept or idea, go ahead and reach out and ask us. But also know that we're going to be talking about this a little bit more at the Chapter Academy in person portion, right? I'm going to end by saying that even if you do this for the new folks, even if you do this occasionally, make a concerted effort and call it the board reboot this year. Call it we're going to get on, we're going to make 26 a fabulous place, a fabulous year for us. And how are we going to do it? I'll tell you how we're going to do it. We're going to start by all agreeing on what we're going to do and having a really vibrant connection. Now, one quick note to my chairs. This is not about you feeling like you have to show up and say, here's our vision for the year, and here's our chapter, and this is what we're going to do. And a good 2026 is going to be about membership growth of 10%. No. It's about coming in and saying, where do we want to go in 26 and how do we know we'll be there? Create the shared vision. You don't have to come with a vision. Your role is to help them all agree on a vision. All right? Lots of good chat in here. Sandra, if you can, at some point, can you share your 2-day strategic planning session agenda and any resources? I think folks would love to see this. Stephanie, where chicken eggs, more engagement, more members, more meetings. Which comes first? Need the right balance. Oh, yes, that is a great question for us to have some more conversation around. I'm just going to suggest to you, if you're, let me actually ask a question. When you say more engagement, more members, and more meetings, are you talking exclusively about the board, or are you talking about members' involvement in the chapter? Because if it's completely about the board, actually, I guess both. Okay. For the board, it's not more meetings, it's more engagement. I mean, you really want to get the board engaged. And I think one of our falsehoods is that we focus our board on meetings times, like, and instead of focusing the board on it's a 12-month commitment. And the 12-month commitment means I may have a group of meeting this month and the whole board meets the second month. Commitment may be, well, no, we're just going to have a great chat conversation about something and come to a conclusion. Commitment is, I'm going to get done what I say I'm going to get done. I'm going to upload it to the folder so everybody can see what I did. Engagement is how many times are people connecting into the chapter and doing something, not necessarily how many meetings. I wouldn't put more meetings on the schedule. I put more engagement points. That weekly pulse is an engagement point. Ask everybody to simply give a thumbs up if they received it, right? Build in those kind of engagement things. That kind of engagement makes more more productive meetings. When they get together, they see a reason, they're committed to people, and that will actually allow you to have great succession. When we're talking about priorities for members, I'm always going to go back to get more into each member you have first, because that drives loyalty, which drives retention, and that drives new membership. Do not start with, we have to get more members, because getting a member is the biggest lift, but the biggest payoff is in the renewal. And so let's work on the renewal. Let's work on engaging members more deeply in the organization. If you've got 100 members, you want to have a touch point with at least 80% of those, right? 80% you have a touch point with. If you've got a touch point with 80%, they're going to renew and they're going to bring other people in. So I would say a strong organization will draw membership. Yes, a strong organization will draw membership. That's exactly right. You will come to a vibrant community, right? So create the vibrancy first. Excellent. Great questions. Keep coming. I'm going to move on to the next area, because I want to make sure that we get a chance to talk about where are all the different places and times we can continue to have these conversations. We're not going to answer every question today because we've got lots of days to answer these questions. Allow yourself to take away from each one of these one small point that you can do, one thing that you might be able to check out. Let me give you the journey, and then let's talk about how you can jump in along the way. Okay. So coming up in 2 weeks, we have the Chapter Academy. And the day before the Chapter Academy, on the 18th, is the NIGP web host, AKA Club Express in-person training. Great opportunity there. It does mean coming in the day before, but if you can get there, it's going to be a great opportunity for you to get hands-on help. Worry not. We're going to have a little bit of that stuff, and we're going to have the opportunity for you to have access to someone to talk to throughout that. But a great time will be for you to do that. The next time we get together virtually will be 3/12. Then after that, it'll be 4/9. Then after that, it'll be 5/7. And then after that, it will be 6/4. We have a bonus of one more coming up. These are the dates that have been chosen and locked in. They are open to anyone and everyone who is in a chapter leadership role. The topics are going to be built based on the conversation that we have today and the conversation that we have in person in Tucson. So you have the opportunity. This is not Peggy and Jennifer. You have the opportunity to choose the conversation points that we're going to have throughout the year. We will talk more about developing your board for sure. We will talk more about building membership. We will talk more about events and activities and about communications. But you all are going to help us create this map. Part of creating this map is going to happen when we get a chance to see your brag flyers, right? These are your examples of success from the previous year that allows us to then highlight that and talk about how do we help people replicate that. The brag flyers, which creates this beautiful opportunity for us to be a display. It is one of our displays in person. If you want us to print them, it's 210. If you want to bring them, bring them. I know, Robin, I thought it was the 13th too, but Jen tells me it's the 10th. So I'm glad I could say that. All right. And I
Sorry,
think,
guys, we moved up our shipping date, so that was my fault.
oh,
My fault on that, everybody. My fault.
but Jennifer, I know you got a couple in already. What did you get already so far?
We actually have five in already, highlighting their year last year. So I'll call them out here publicly. We have Copper Chapter, Kansas, Northern New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Rocky Mountain have already submitted. So if you can't get them in by next Tuesday, please bring a copy with you. And we will highlight those for everybody to see. But Peggy, can I just offer just a couple quick things that you went through on
Please.
all of this, just so I can let everybody know? If you have signed up to come to the NIGP web hosting, we are currently working with our trainers of what that 3 hours will look like. So we will send that out to those who said they wanted to participate. So you'll know exactly what we'll be covering at what times, whether it'll be advanced, whether it'll be beginner. So that we're working on and we'll get out to you early next week. The other thing that Peggy, you did say, and I want to reiterate to everybody, is that while Chapter Academy and Summit is something that happens in person in 2 weeks, we really want these virtual webinars to be for all of our chapter leaders. So I will continually invite not just those who are there in person for Academy, but your top 4 officers. Please feel free to forward that meeting invite depending on the topic. If maybe I didn't capture somebody that makes a good subject matter for them, or please let us know if we're missing a topic that maybe we want to fill into one of these slots. I think it's key that Peggy said is that we're not just making these up. We find at Academy, this is a great time where could we have spent more time? Where could we have gone in so much more in depth? We only have so many hours, so it allows us to give you a little bit more detail, and you don't have to be at Academy to get something out of those virtual sessions.
And the question that came in, can we attend virtually? And I'm assuming you're asking about the NIGP web hosting training or the in-person academy. And no, alas, we're not able to do that. Don't have the technology to be able to do that on site there. So you're not able to. But hopefully, every chapter has somebody that's coming. And part of what we've done this year to make it a little bit different is we've given you a planning sheet so that the board can actually direct their representative to have the conversations and listen for the intel that is really the board needs this particular year. So and yes, thank you, Jennifer. We are looking at expanding out in the future, which will be really valuable if it's something we're able to do. But in the interim, let's talk a little bit about what your board really would like to get out of this meeting, so we can make sure that we build the agenda, and more importantly, that you are preparing your folks to come prepared to have the conversations that your board needs. So I've got 4 sort of buckets that we're already planning for this year, and I just want to see, because we could put more or less time on some of these. So I'm just kind of curious. Leadership tools and techniques, networking and idea sharing, clarifying roles and responsibilities, fixing specific chapter challenges. Tell us what your board is most curious about as you're heading into the summit. And for those of you that are sending someone else that you can't, you're not able to attend your first time, let's make sure that we can sort of get those questions asked. Nicole says, if I have a list of questions, can we share? Yes, Nicole, yes, please do, please do. And then send somebody or assign somebody to take down the answers as we talk about them and get them back to you. Great way of getting your board really talking and engaging. One person last year I thought did a great job. At least she mentioned this to me. And again, I can see a face, but I can't put a name to it. That's one of my issues. But anyway, she was doing an email, and I think she did it twice a day, but I know once a day. She did an email. She had an email open to her whole board, and she was throwing ideas in it and then hitting send. I mean, is that great? I mean, right from the meeting. Anyway, whoever you were, if you're on this call, kudos to you. If you were a board member who received that email, amen. Anyway, I thought it was a brilliant idea. All right, let me end the poll.
And Peggy, let me also add something that for those who've been to Academy before, or this is going to be a new experience, you're going to get inundated with so much
Mhm.
stuff and new ideas. So this is a great way to, we're going to post this event planner here in the chat for you to upload. But this is a great way for you to get your board and those that are not going to be in person and feel that excitement and that momentum to want to shift things to be part of that process along with you. So when you come back, you're not the one that's dumping all of these wonderful ideas, but they've been part of that process all along.
Yes, love it. Love it. Um, uh, uh, Jennifer, this poll is for us.
Yes, I got that.
To capture it. Okay.
Yep.
Just so you guys know, Jennifer and I leave these meetings with as much homework, I think. Maybe you
Yes.
guys do. And we do ask polls so that we can get intel from you all. So, all right. Here in a nutshell are the current sessions that are happening at Chapter Academy in person. Okay. And I want to just highlight these real quickly because I'm going to bring up that form. We're going to start off with that web hosting training. We're going to have a session on board and volunteer development with roundtables by position, member value proposition in a World Cafe style. So this is where you're going to be able to go to and talk about the issues that you want. Then we're going to have communications, marketing, and conversations, which are going to be small group discussions. We're going to participate in the Full Leadership's Innovation Labs and learn Scamper, a creative thinking framework, which is a really cool, different way of sort of, it's a problem solving, idea storming, very cool process, which we're going to help you all take back to your own boards. But those of you on site will go through a process with other leaders in the profession. And then we're having this cool thing called open office hours, which is meetup time with key NIGP staff. Okay, specifically Jennifer and Belinda and Todd, and potentially other folks. So it's all about. I have a question about chapter hosting. I have a question about Club Express. I have a question about membership recruitment. I have a question about membership orientation. I have a question about my seal. I have, you get it. So anyway, and open chapter sharing through the brag flyers and SMEs. We're going to do a whole matching game. If you're a subject matter expert, we're going to help you connect with the folks that need you. Okay. So wild and crazy time. Your poll helps us know where we might want to expand or contract a little bit. We'll also do, as I call it, voting in the moment when we're on site. But here's how you can prepare. And Jen's going to throw this into by the way, this is on your calendar invite if you saw it. We're going to throw it into chat that Jennifer just did. And here's a screenshot of it. This is what we recommend that you sit down with your board if you can. If you can have a quick, like 15-minute call with your board, if not, send it to your board and ask them to comment. As a board, understand what is the top priorities. Like you're going to be in a room full of a lot of other chapter leaders, some staff, and then leaders in the profession in NIGP, right? Think about it from that context, not necessarily a context. I mean, how do I want to put this? You're in that room. If you had a question for that kind of a room, what would it be? That's your priorities. That's what you want to learn or solve, right? What are the key questions you'd like to ask? So if Brad is the one that's coming and I'm on the board with Brad and I want Brad to ask these questions, right? Right? These are the questions. Come home with these questions. Send me an email, right? These are the topics that we're having, and I would like you to know as a board where do you want to put your emphasis. Like, is it under chapter leader roles? Is it under value proposition? I know there's a bunch of things here, but go ahead and figure out ahead of time not only the topic but the why, because you could say, oh well, building a better board and volunteer pool is cool, great, but if you did that, what would happen? That's the why, right? while you're doing this, make sure that the person that's coming knows the top 3 goals for the chapter for this year. That may be that they simply attach in their own, bring along with them the strat plan, the operational plan, the whatever, the top 3 goals, because that stays top of mind. If our goal is having a deeper volunteer pool, I'm going to be listening for that. If I don't keep that in my mind, I may not listen for it. Bring with you your basic calendar of events. Now, if you're on Club Express, you can probably just log on right while you're there and you'll have it in front of you, but go ahead and do that. And then any other kind of challenges and opportunities. Then I want you to finish off with this, and I want you to commit to when are you going to have the recap meeting and when are you going to have a summary email date. Go ahead, have the board know make this commitment, write that down, and maybe there's something else there that you want to see. Okay. So this is and if you're getting ready to do strategic planning or something, use the key challenges and opportunities, or maybe that's a key question to ask. Take the time as a board either to circulate this and have conversation around it, or as I said, if you get everybody on the phone call for 15 minutes and just say, hey, I sent you this form, let's figure this out. Not all your board can come. We get it. Timing, dollars, commitments, whatever. So if you're the person going, own this sheet and make your board help you so that you're not all alone. Okay. We're just about through on our time here. Let me just see if I've missed anything. Oh, Jenny, you're going to be at the edge. That's excellent. Good for you. No, don't say that. You're going to be good. I saw that face. Don't do that. Because
Can't split myself in half, apparently.
you
I'll be at the Club Express. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. But Vivian and Maya, ooh, that's pretty. Will be there. Excellent. And Drew Evans will be great. I mean, here's the issue. It is 3-in-1 program. The beautiful thing is this year, the Scamper, and Jenny, this will be important for you to know, the Scamper is going to be in the full program area. So you're going to hear the same things that the Chapter Academy folks hear. So that is really great to know, right? And then we're doing another piece, which a scavenger hunt, which is about a team building thing. You're going to experience it. You're not going to experience it in exact, with the group, with the academy group, but you're going to experience it. So as far as I'm concerned, Danielle, have a great rest of your day. It'll be great. We're going to have an opportunity. We've taken a little bit of time from the academy to give more opportunity for us to interact with the other 2 groups because, well, what the heck? Those are the people who decide if their people can be on your board and at your meetings. So we might as well get to know them and see how cool we are. And secondly, particularly with the edge, those are potential volunteers for us, right? So we're going to spend some more time. So when I say building a better board and volunteer pool on this side, we're building in opportunities for you to actually see some people who could potentially be a better board or have an access to your help you build your volunteer pool. So questions, folks, my dear leaders, in the 3 minutes, questions about the form, questions about what we're doing between now and June, questions about those early topics we talked about, the 3 habits and the Smart Start.
Peggy, while anybody posts a question, I will let everybody know, it came up earlier, that we will post the recording, the slide deck, these 2 resources, documents, on our website. You all should be getting Leaders in the Loop. I know some of you are brand new to your leadership role, so you're starting to get that new communication that comes out twice a month. We'll send in the next one, which will be 2 weeks from now, a link to where you can find all of this. Again, this is something we started last year, and we're really pushing it more and emphasizing that these webinars are for all of our leaders. They're just not for those attending Academy. We really want to be able to give all of the leadership these opportunities to be a part of this. Even if it's a small piece of helping the planning or asking those questions when you go, please ask this question of the group, find this out. I also say that take advantage of not just our time when we're together in our cohort and our breakout group. Use that time during meals and breaks to have these conversations and engagement, that there's a lot of time for you to network with all three of the groups together, but very specifically your chapter leaders that are there. And you'll find, I guarantee you'll have an aha moment that says, wow, I'm not alone. Here's a group of 104 people. That's how much we have coming to Academy. All know exactly what's happening and how I feel. So that's a very powerful feeling to be in.
Excellent. Very cool. I just happened to, while Jen was talking, I was doing a little multitasking. Sorry, Jen. And I saw that someone said, when you said touch point, Valerie said, when you asked, when you say touch point, are you saying how often do we communicate with your members? And that's a great question. Jennifer answered it in the context of today, but I just want to say, when we talked about that, you can apply that to membership too. Like, how often do you have a pulse that goes out? And maybe weekly is insane, right? But is there just a real quick opportunity for folks to make the connection? So yes. All right, we are 60
Peggy,
seconds.
Peggy, I got a question.
Yes.
Would there be an opportunity, and I know I'm pretending I'm going to Chapter Academy, but would there be an opportunity where maybe a chapter leader could do a presentation of how they do their event calendar? Showing a good example and see if somebody can glean off of that, and why reinvent the wheel, right?
I think that is a great thing, and I think we should put that on our list, and we'll see if
Yep.
we can make that happen. I love it, and if not at the in person, that would be a great way of doing one of the webinars too, because
Yeah,
it opens it up to
definitely.
all chairs. I love it.
Yeah, a year in
Oh my
advance
gosh.
look. Yes.
Thank you, Jenny, and thank you all for staying with us up to the end to see some of you in 2 weeks, see all of you at our next March event together. Have a great and wonderful rest of the day. It's always a pleasure. And we look forward to seeing so many of you in 2 weeks.
Thank you guys. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Jen, can I ask you a question offline?